a power vacuum in his Luo Nyanza heartland, where he had reigned as political kingpin since inheriting the mantle from his father, Kenya's first Vice President, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, in 1994. The show starts now. Madagascar's coup leader, Colonel Michael Randrianirina, was sworn in as president on October 17th to cheers, blaring trumpets and raised swords days after taking control of the island nation in the wake of youth-led protests that forced out his predecessor. Randrianirina said a new chapter was being opened in Madagascar, adding that he was committed to breaking with the past. He also promised elections within 2 years. Here is our cover report.
The outrage was intense. Malagasy youth were a fed-up lot, and they meted out their frustrations on the streets of the capital, Antananarivo, for weeks. President Rajoelina was at first unfazed by the Gen Z euphoria and fury. He began by firing ministers. Then his cabinet faced the axe. And eventually, after repeated pressure, the beleaguered leader fled, addressing his people in an undisclosed location on Facebook. In his absence, Parliament was to table an impeachment motion and issue a decree. In the end, this man, Colonel Michael Randrianirina, popped up amid the melee and a silent coup. He was the head of the CAPSAT military unit, an elite military unit which had taken power in Madagascar after the National Assembly voted to impeach President Rajoelina for desertion of duty. CAPSAT played a major role in the 2009 coup that first brought Rajoelina to power. Within days, the Colonel transitioned to a president and was sworn in as Madagascar's new president via sweeping reforms.
Today marks a historic turning point for our country, with a people in turmoil, driven by the will for change and a deep love for our homeland. We joyfully open a new chapter in our national life. This youth, victims of injustice, plundering of these resources and the misappropriation of public goods, composed mainly of Gen Z, supported by all Madagascar citizens, took to the streets to demand national reconstruction and the resolution of recurring socio-economic problems in the country, in particular the incessant cuts in water and electricity.
Youth movement spokesperson Randria Mandrato Elliott expressed mixed feelings about the military's involvement after weeks of state repression. Elliott, a spokesperson for the movement Gen Z Collective, a coalition of several of the process groups, is not the only participant in the uprising to feel ambivalent about a man in uniform filling the power vacuum left by Rajoelina's hasty exit. Many wonder if their concerns will be heeded too, or, as in the past, ignored.
What we really want on the next days, next months, next year, 1 or 2 years, is that things are taken into matter, like the shortage of water, the shortage of electricity, are getting they get take care of, like, and during those and in the process of those, with the young people and the youth is taking some responsibility or listened, or they are in the middle of the discussions and on the technical matter in order to create solutions with the regime.
Madagascar's youth population averaging just 19 faces a litany of problems that are largely the result of mismanagement by a succession of older men. Even Rajoelina, at 34, the world's youngest president when he came to power in a 2009 coup, disappointed the youth by failing to create prosperity or deliver basic services by the time he was ousted in his 50s. Since independence from France in 1960 until 2020, GDP per capita nearly halved. World Bank data shows, making it one of few nations that became worse off in that time. At that time, Madagascar experienced several periods of military-led or military-dominated government, often with disastrous results for the economy.
In public opinion, there's clearly a perception of French involvement in Madagascar's affairs, particularly regarding a president who was deeply criticized. Will this lead to real change in the issues raised by the movement? Will water start running again from the taps? Will electricity be reliably restored? And will public freedoms continue to be respected? These remain open questions and major challenges for this new leadership.
Madagascar's new leader declared a transition period of 2 years to be followed by new elections. Only time will tell. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
Raila Odinga's death has left Kenya's opposition divided and directionless. His party's decision to join President William Ruto's broad-based government after the 2024 protests blurred the line between dissent and cooperation, creating confusion over what and who the opposition now represents. His replacement and rightful heir remains in limbo. Here's a report.
The death of Raila Odinga, Kenya's most enduring opposition leader, has thrown both his party and Ruto's government into uncertainty, as veteran Senator Oburu Oginga is named interim leader to command one of Africa's most loyal voting bases. The death of Raila Odinga has left Kenya's politics in shock and transition. The firebrand opposition chief, who for decades dominated Kenya's democratic struggles and opposition movements, leaves behind a party and a political landscape in confusion and flux. Since founding the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, in 2005, Raila had remained its undisputed leader, guiding the party through 5 presidential elections, countless coalition deals, and several seasons of resistance. His death comes just months before he was expected to preside over ODM's 20th anniversary celebrations in November, planned to take place at the coastal city of Mombasa, a symbolic stronghold of his support. Raila died without publicly naming a successor, leaving his Orange Democratic Movement divided over whether to continue supporting President William Ruto's broad-based government. This alliance had blurred the traditional lines between government and opposition. Uncertainty now hangs over the party's future and its role ahead of the 2027 elections, when Ruto is expected to seek re-election. At the center of the turmoil is Edwin Sifuna, ODM's outspoken Secretary-General, who has urged unity during the mourning period but vowed not to back Ruto's bid for a second term. Sifuna, who leads a growing faction of younger lawmakers frustrated by ODM's entanglement with government, quietly launched a new political outfit called Kenya Moja. He has positioned it as an alternative movement outside ODM and as the nucleus of a generational shift in Kenyan opposition politics. Political analyst Dismas Mokua says Raila's death is a severe blow to the future of the ODM, which now faces deep internal divisions in his absence. ODM party was Raila and Raila was ODM. The party is likely to split in future, he says. Replacing Raila as leader of ODM is proving to be the party's greatest challenge. His 3 deputies, Vihiga Senator, Godfrey Osotsi, Kisii Governor, Simba Arati and Abdul Swamad Nasir, who is the governor of Mombasa, were chosen mainly to preserve regional balance, but analysts say none commands Raila's national stature. Some have cited Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o, a longtime ally and the party's first Secretary-General, as the most likely successor. Nyong'o, 80, briefly led ODM in 2024 when Raila took leave to campaign for the African Union Commission chairmanship, a role that bolstered his visibility as a steady hand within the movement. Siaya Governor James Orengo, another senior figure within ODM, is also seen as a potential successor. A longtime ally and rights advocate, Orengo shares Raila's reformist instincts and reputation for speaking truth to power. Among those positioning themselves to fill the void are his longtime ally and former running mate Kalonzo Musyoka, ex-Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, former Justice Minister Martha Karua, and former Interior Minister Fred Matiang'i. They are all vying to inherit a role that for decades seemed to belong to only one man, Raila. Raila's death may also unsettle the uneasy alliance he helped build with President Ruto. After last year's protests, Raila's backing was instrumental in stabilizing the government and quelling unrest. The deal gave several of Raila's allies senior positions in the cabinet and was widely seen as a truce between Kenya's two most powerful political camps. Now that he's gone, the balance that kept that coalition intact looks increasingly uncertain. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
Ivory Coast, where a presidential election is being held on the 25th of October, is known as a transit point for many would-be migrants from across the region, for whom the dream of a better life in Europe remains strong. However, most returnees are rebuilding their lives at home after failure of migration dream. Here is their story.
In the Ivory Coast town of Daloa, tales like Marie Godot's of dreams shattered overseas are common. The small town in the center of the West African country is well known as a transit point for Ivorians looking to migrate. For Godot, her failed attempt in Tunisia brought shame, but ended with her back in Daloa with a successful cosmetics business. For some returnees like Godot, Daloa has become a new start, though for others coming back is not so fortunate.
I was disappointed in myself, you understand? It was like I had nothing to show for it. My family was counting on me, and then I came back with nothing, so I was already broken.
Mohamed Badini recounted his own departure by road as a teenager in 2016, inspired by friends who tried their luck. Traveling through Mali, Niger and Algeria, it took him a year to reach Morocco. Without any papers, he worked in construction, often without pay, and tried several times in vain to cross into Europe before resigning to returning with a voluntary return program run by the United Nations International Organization for Migration, IOM. Now running a small hair salon, he has no plans to leave again.
The journey is very dangerous. Among the people who traveled with me, some died and some got sick. There were many incidents. What I can say is that here, you can succeed.
Claude Tano himself went through a similar experience in North Africa. The 40-year-old father of three eventually returned and now heads Diaspora, an NGO which educates potential migrants. IOM has supported more than 18,000 returnees in Ivory Coast since 2017. But informal employment among returnees remains above 85%.
I set an example for them. Europe is indeed the El Dorado that everyone dreams of. But today, I can say that my El Dorado is here, because today, thank God, I am a civil servant at AVSI, an international organization. I'm a driver there, sure, but I have insurance, I get paid, my children are insured. So I think that when I explain that, some understand. I let them know that it's okay to dream, but even here, at home, we can make it.
Jobs for young people were a key part of campaigning for Ivory Coast's presidential election on October 25th. On track to secure a fourth term, President Alassane Ouattara has vowed new opportunities. Known as West Africa's engine, Ivory Coast is one of the fastest growing economies in the region and the world's top cocoa producer. But many Ivorians still live in poverty and dream of migrating. For many, that means their family has contributed, sometimes taking out debts of several $1,000s while waiting for a return on investment. Failure to make a life overseas is often stigmatized. Returnees are called cursed. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
Young women and girls in Zimbabwe are using an ancient tradition to fight child marriages and campaign for equality. In the past, girls would be taken to a private place where they would be prepared for marriage in a custom called nhanga. But now they're using it as a forum to voice their fears and learn about the harms of child marriage.
In a large white tent in Shamva, in northeastern Zimbabwe, young people are discussing sexuality, child marriage, teen pregnancy, gender bias, and economic empowerment. Nothing is off limits. The event takes place in the name of Nanga. It's the local term for girls' bedroom, an ancient traditional space once used to prepare adolescent girls for marriage. Across rural Zimbabwe, girls are now reinventing the centuries-old practice. It's now a peer-led movement to resist child marriage, which is rife in the southern African nation. In traditional homesteads, a round thatched hut served as Nanga, a female-only room where girls were taught obedience, how to please husbands and moral education. It reinforced patriarchal expectations. Today that custom is being turned on its head, and girls are being encouraged to talk openly about sexual matters and taught that child marriage is not condoned. 18-year-old Anita Razo joined at 14 and now mentors younger girls.
Peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer. Mentoring is important because a girl of my age is free to open up to me, unlike sharing her challenges or problems with elderly people who can be judgmental or even end up telling the whole community. This is a safe space. Every girl feels equal and free.
In a field outside, young girls play football, a sign of how things might be changing here. Teacher Enet Tini also believes it's important to act as a mentor to the girls. Tini believes the problem of child marriages is caused by the community's adults who haven't learned how to help the girls protect themselves.
The gap that we have is lying with the adults themselves, but the girls now have an understanding of how important it is to promote and protect themselves from teenage pregnancies and child marriages, because they are actually seeing their colleagues and peers who are suffering after they have experienced child marriage.
1 in 3 girls in Zimbabwe marries before 18. According to the United Nations Children's Fund, which describes the situation as a national emergency demanding urgent action. It's a similar situation across East and Southern Africa. Child marriage rates soar to above 40% in Central and West Africa, with Niger at 76%, the highest globally, according to UNICEF.
We are talking about rape and sexual exploitation and breaking the future of our little children. This is a global problem. It's a global problem, and I see it now as the Assistant Secretary General in the United Nations. I see it as a global problem that we see, but it's much higher in Africa. And in Africa, when I served as the African Union Goodwill Ambassador on ending child marriage, traversed the continent, it was very clear that laws are important. Access to public services, education, and health is important.
Zimbabwe and many other African countries have outlawed child marriage, even overturning laws prohibiting abortion for girls under 18. But poverty, lethargic enforcement, and cultural and religious customs keep it alive. Subjects like child marriage are extremely difficult to tackle in conservative homes. Many schools across Zimbabwe have adopted the model, which has spread to Zambia and Sierra Leone, and even reached African Union and United Nations forums. Africa News, WION World is One.
Traditional Ethiopian dressmakers who produce the East African nation's popular long white Habesha Kemis dresses by hand are pessimistic about the future of this centuries-old trade amidst economic woes and competition from cheaper factory-produced dresses, including some imported from China.
I won't pass this craft down to my children. My son will focus on his education instead. My life hasn't changed because of this work, and that's the reason I don't want him to follow in my footsteps.
The economy isn't what it used to be, not just because now more of dresses are made in China, but people in general are buying less.
Nowadays, many craftsmen are leaving their work because there's not enough work. When there are no customers, we can't pay them, so they're looking for other jobs just to make ends meet.
South Africa, home to one of the largest Indian population in Africa, celebrated Diwali with pomp and great enthusiasm. From homes to temples, people came together and enjoyed the festival of lights with bhajans, mouth-watering food and vibrant cultural showcases. Our correspondent Kalden Ongmu filed this report from Johannesburg.
Diwali is one of the most symbolic Hindu festivals. It is celebrated with great pride by the Hindus all over the world. In South Africa too, every year the Festival of Light brings together families for prayers, lighting of lamps, good food and cultural programs.
For me, Diwali means celebrating our Hindu religion, celebrating Lord Ram and his return to Ayodhya from exile. It also symbolizes for me it means being with family, being with friends, lots of food, coming to the temple.
Thousands of Hindus flocked at BAP's Sri Swaminarayan Mandir in Johannesburg to celebrate Diwali. Young and old came together wearing their finest traditional attire and joyously celebrated the occasion, offering prayers, creating beautiful rangolis, bursting firecrackers. The visitors reckon that even though physically they are far from the birth country, they feel right at home when they visit the temple during festivities.
Here outside India, a Hindu organization, BAPS, Sri Swaminarayan Mandir, have organized a beautiful festival celebrations on Diwali. It doesn't look like that we have migrated outside and forgotten our culture. It feels like we are at home only. We thank them for it.
Beyond worship, lighting lamps, setting off fireworks, and indulging in savory and sweet festive treats, Diwali serves as a reminder of our collective responsibility to care for the welfare of others. The Hindu festival serves as a reminder of our common humanity, our innate ability to be kind and resilient, and the power we all possess to effect positive change. In the spirit of truth and light, Hindus all over the world, including South Africa, have come together not just to celebrate Diwali, but also to send a clear message that even though the world is going through tough times, light triumphs darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance. May the brightness of Diwali fill your days with peace, prosperity, and happiness. This is Calder Almo from Johannesburg, South Africa for WION World is One.
And on that Diwali note, that's all the buzz in Africa this week. Get in touch with us on all our social media platforms and also on our website and share your story from the continent with us. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Njoka. Thank you for watching this week's episode of World of Africa on WION World is One. It's goodbye from me.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
YO1 Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to YO1 Health Resort. Make your reservation at yo1.com.